Hello there, my name is Sarah and I am reading Secret City by Jan Andrew Henderson. This is chapter 13, The Monster. Charlie stepped into the theatre, construction helmet in one hand and paint cloth in the other. Lily was sitting in the empty front row of chairs, exactly where the boy had left her the evening before, her face pale and drawn. She looked as if she'd been there all night. "Where's your father, Lily?" Charlie said. "What?" The girl was taken aback by the unexpected question. "I don't know. I mean, where's your father on that?" The boy pointed at a huge poster adorning the theatre wall. It advertised the acts performing at the Big Top during the festival, and it was printed in fancy circus-style lettering. "Blackheart Entertainment presents the Edinburgh Festival Acrobatic Circus, the Flying Pollock Brothers, Bert the Human Bullet, the Bouncing Bruceys, Scalina the Mistress of the Wire, the Wonderful Wilsons, Dazzling Derek, and Deaky Bob the Wonder Dog." I remember my dad telling me this theatre is just for acrobats, apart from Deaky Bob the Wonder Dog, of course. He walked over and studied the poster more closely. "You said your father was a magician, performing in this Big Top. Does your father advertised here?" "My father is a magician," Lily protested. "How did you know that ordinary silver would work against Mordred?" Charlie kept going. "What are you talking about?" "Yesterday, you said that only fairy silver could beat Mordred. How did you know that?" Oh, Lily threw up her hands. "I didn't. It was a guess." "It didn't sound like a guess." Charlie strode towards her. "Why do I never see you anywhere except in this theatre? How come you know so much about Edinburgh's past?" "Why are you hounding me like this?" Lily backed away from him. "You said your father is a great magician. Where is he?" "Stop!" The girl held up her hands, but the boy kept advancing. "You're Goradin's daughter, aren't you?" He pointed an accusing finger. "You are one of the little people. You're the girl who led the Scots to the fairy silver, and you've been hanging around ever since. And you're Heather, the girl that Duncan liked. I'm right, haven't I?" "You seem to have it all worked out." Lily managed to sound impressed and resentful at the same time. "Actually, it was a guess." Charlie looked sheepish. "It was a good guess." The boy shrugged. It seems as if nothing was impossible anymore. He would just have to get used to it. "The diary said Heather had dark hair, but yours is red. Suppose that's magic." "No, it was dirt." "You think 19th century gypsies can afford shampoo?" Charlie laughed despite himself. He reached out and took her arm. She flinched as if she wasn't used to being touched. "It's all right. Sit beside me." Despite her deceit, the boy found it impossible to stay angry with Lily. Besides, he needed answers fast. Any information that he could get from the girl right now might save his life. He flopped down on the chair. She sat next to him, looking at the floor. "Why have you stayed here so long?" Charlie said. "Why don't you live in Galhadria with the rest of the little people?" "I don't know." "No? You've had over 1,000 years to come up with a reason." "I don't remember." The girl looked genuinely unsure. It was so long ago. Lily still didn't look up. "My father, where exactly is he?" I don't know that either." She was almost whispering now. "He brought me from Galhadria to this world, and then he deserted me." "I'm sorry about that." Charlie took her hand. "I loved my father. Perhaps I wanted to make better what he did wrong." The boy squinted at her. "Are you telling me that you've hung around the entrance to the underground city for a millennium just to stop Mordred and his gang from getting away?" The girl put a trembling hand to her mouth. I thought someday my father might come back for me," she said finally. "Got to admire your patience." Charlie gave her hand a squeeze. Then he let it go. "Lily," he said, as evenly as he could, why won't you use your powers to kill Mordred? Why are you trying to make me do it instead?" Lily finally looked up, her eyes wide and green. "Magical creatures must not fight other magical creatures. It's a law so old that we no longer even think about it." She leant forward earnestly. "But we know that if we break it, something terrible will happen. We just know." She shook her head and her red curls bobbed violently. "I can't help you." I know. The boy couldn't hide his irritation, and little people don't interfere with humans either. For a magical race, you Galhadrians don't actually do an awful lot. You're not even supposed to know we exist. Lily squeezed her mortal companion's hand so tightly that the boy winced. Charlie, I'm doing my best. I've kept people out of Mordred's way for centuries. Now I'm trying to save the lives of these workmen. Yeah, by sending me instead. Lily sighed deeply. Mordred is proof that magic exists. If he gets out, your race will once again believe, but things are not like they used to be on Earth. Men might actually have the power to make magic work for them. Charlie frowned. That would be so bad. You developed weapons that can destroy your own world. Charlie, and that's without magic. Lily said sadly, what do you think? The boy picked up the paint cloth and unwrapped Excalibur. The blade glowed a ghostly blue in the dim light of the big top. Lily gasped when she saw it. There's no point hanging around here then, is there? He said, lifting the sword above his head and plunging it back down. The blade sunk into the stone floor as if it was made of butter. Charlie let go of Excalibur and it quivered and sang, vibrating like a huge bee sting. I've got a monster to fight. Do you have a plan? Of course. Charlie stood up and placed the helmet with the flashlight on his head. I'm counting on Mordred laughing himself to death when he sees me. Let me fix this. Lily rose and fastened the strap of the hard hat under the boy's chin. She had to stand on her toes to reach, and the top half of her body pressed against his chest. Ooh, she felt cold. So what do I call you now? Charlie said. A little person? You can call me a friend, she said, looking into his eyes. Then she slid her arms around his waist and gave him a tentative hug. Her hand resting lightly on his shoulder. You have your parents' courage, she whispered in his ear. Remember, you also have their skill. Use it. She leant back, kissed him quickly on the lips, then held him by the shoulders at arm's length. Like a general expecting one of her troops, Charlie was surprised to see the girl's eyes glistening with tears. If I don't manage this, he began, but Lily put a finger to his lips. These are the first tears I have shed since my father vanished, she said softly, and suddenly the boy felt more confident, more powerful, and more loved than he had ever in his life. He lifted his hand to touch the girl's cheek just once, then turned and walked towards the door at the back of the theatre. Your sword! Lily motioned towards Excalibur, still upright and vibrating. I don't need it. Not yet, Charlie smiled and stepped through the door. Lily came back to the sword and crouched down beside it, admiring the intricate carvings on the flawless blade. She clenched her fists in a little gesture of triumph. He does have a plan, she said to Excalibur. I knew he would. I'm going to read the second part of that chapter tomorrow evening. I want you to clean your teeth, wash your hands, snuggle into your bed, give yourself a big, huge cuddle. Night-night.